Eufy S220 solar powered security camera. We are going to go over the setup and the installation of the S220 security camera by Eufy. The first step is to make sure that the camera is fully charged by plugging a charger into the USB-C port. And you'll see that blue light right there that's indicated. When that blue light goes out, that means that that camera is fully charged and you are ready to install your camera. Now the location that I chose to mount the security camera is right on the side of the house, on the side of the garage actually, right there where I'm pointing. And I chose that location because it gets plenty of sunlight. It is blocked a little bit by that tree that I just pointed to, but we only need 3 hours of sunlight on a solar powered camera to keep the batteries fully charged. The security camera kit comes with everything that you need to complete the installation. You have the mount right there. You have the camera, 2 cameras because I got a 2 camera kit. You have the mounting screws right there. You have your USB-C cable, and we have the mount for the second camera. So the first step is to take the mount that's provided with the kit, unscrew the back half of the mount, take that centerpiece out of the mount. It just pulls out just like that. That centerpiece pops right back in place just as easy as it came out. Now the 2 elongated holes that are at the back of the mount, those are the holes we're going to use to stick our screws through to mount it to whatever surface we're going to mount it to. So if we're going to mount it to the side of the house, we're going to use those 2 holes to screw our screws into. So let's get started with the mounting process. You're going to need a marker, a pencil, or anything that you can use to make a mark with. And we're going to take the back of the mount and use that as our template. The kit does come with a template already that you can use and simply stick onto your mounting surface and drill your screws, but I didn't figure that part out until after the fact. Let's get started. Tools we need for the installation: a drill and a Phillips head bit for your drill. It doesn't have to be a drill. You can use an impact driver or whatever electric drill driver that you have handy, but we are going to use this DeWalt 12 volt drill and we're going to use that to screw our screws in. You can do this manually by hand without a drill, but why would you want to do that? Now as you can tell, I do have my holes marked, and we're going to take this drill bit right here, which is smaller in diameter than the screw that we're using to mount the back of our mounting plate to, and drill those holes right at those marks that we made onto our mounting surface. And the reason we're pre-drilling the holes is to make our job easier when putting the screws in. We can use the holes to stick the screw into just a little bit and keep the screw in place while we're screwing the screw into the hole. Now that we have our holes pre-drilled, let's go ahead and mount the back half of that camera mount to our mounting surface and go ahead and complete the installation of our camera. So now let's take that centerpiece that I don't know what it's called, put that back into the bottom half of the camera mount, take the outer portion of the camera mount and screw that back in, that piece right there. We're going to screw that in, but we're not going to screw it in completely tight because we do want to make sure that it's just a little loose so that we can move the camera around and get it into position. Now, once we have the camera in the position that we want, we can go ahead and completely tighten the second half of that camera mount. Before installation, we want to remove the film on the front of the camera and on the top of the camera, the 2 pieces of film that says remove the film. After that is done, we're going to take our camera and turn it clockwise to screw it into the camera mount like you see me doing right now. Now, this is what I did. This was a mistake. I should have mounted the camera after performing the setup of the camera with the camera app. So don't screw that camera into the camera mount just yet. Let's go through the setup process before we mount the camera onto the camera mount. Ultimately, I ended up taking the camera back off of the mount, performing the camera setup inside the house where it's shady and the camera can read the QR code that the camera needs to read to set up properly. So let's go ahead and get into that process right now. So you will need to install the Eufy app on your Android or your iOS device and then continue to set up from there. So let's go ahead and go into the Eufy app. So at some point after installing the Eufy Security app, you will be prompted with this page, which will ask you to add a device using the plus symbol right there at the top where the arrow is pointing to, or it might automatically prompt you to add a device because you don't have any devices added. If you already have a device installed on the Eufy app, you will simply press that plus symbol and then you will add your battery camera, choose the camera that you have. We're dealing with the S220, so we'll select the S220 from the list right there. Choose our setup, which will be our home, and then we'll hit the next button. Now, if we're going to connect it to Wi-Fi, we will connect to router. If we're going to connect it to the home base from Eufy, then we will select the button that says connect to home base. But we're using a Wi-Fi setup, so we're going to connect it to the router. We're going to choose our SSID. You have been hacked. That's the name of our SSD. where I live right now. And then we're going to enter the password for the Wi-Fi network. And then we're going to hold the sync button down for 2 seconds as instructed on the Eufy app. From here on out, the instructions are pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing too complicated. Just make sure that you follow the instructions and the setup will go nice and smooth. I'm not going to go through the entire process of setting up the camera on the Eufy app because there's a lot of options that you need to personally go through and decide for yourself which options you want to work for your camera. But here's a tip. When you are doing this section here with the QR code and you're scanning the QR code with the camera, make sure that you're in an area that's not too well lit, because if you're outside, the sunlight can reflect off of the phone or the device that you're scanning the QR code on with the camera, and you want to make sure that the camera can pick it up pretty easily. So do this portion inside the house, and then once you're finished setting up the camera with the Eufy app, you can go ahead outside and mount the camera to the mounting point, and you should be pretty much done and ready to set up your security settings in the Eufy app. Now, the Eufy Security app is a fantastic app. It has tons of features, all of the features that you would expect to have in a security app, even features that you don't expect to have. So make sure you go through all of the features in the app and make sure you have it set up exactly how you want it to be set up. I hope this review was helpful. I hope it helped you make a decision about purchasing a Eufy S220 solar powered security camera. No wires needed. You can mount it anywhere you want. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next review. Peace.
To watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.